Going on, everyone? It's your boy Ben and JV from JBM Sports Media coming at you guys with a hectic video because we had some trades that went down today. It looks like the NBA trade market is starting to heat up big time right here, and we'll jump straight into it right here. That massive trade that occurred today was Jaren Jackson Jr. heading to Utah. The Jazz trading 3 first-round picks, Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, and also Walter Clayton Jr. Also going to the Utah Jazz, we have John Conchar, Jock Landale, and Vince Williams Jr. JV, first thoughts about when you saw this go down immediately?
I mean, they got a stud. Utah got a stud in Jaren Jackson. I'll tell you right now, he's a young stud. They did give up a pretty penny, but they got a decent return, and I think Utah is looking to try to set up their future as well. Maybe now build around Lauri Markkanen and not potentially trade him. Maybe this is their way of saying, you know what, let's build a young nucleus and we'll make someone the blue chip piece in this franchise. And I think Markkanen and Jaren Jackson is a huge move. So listen, I know people are going to say the 3 picks and that they gave up 3 first-round picks, but this is a really good move for Utah, to be honest with you. And I think it's just one step out of the door for John Morant. I think he's got one foot out the door, basically, at this point. So I like to see what happens with him. I honestly, I think his trade value actually might have gotten hurt, and now Memphis may be stuck with him. So I wouldn't be surprised if they can't move him now and they move him in the summer. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Memphis moving forward. But I like this move for Utah.
I know that Brett Siegel got asked, does this mean that John Morant's next? And do you see it happening before the deadline? He said yes. And I'm not surprised if he does end up getting moved, whether it be for even 1 first-round pick, even if they could take a bad contract and attach something else with Ja, who knows? Miami seems to be linked with him. Sacramento still hasn't closed that door for John Morant. So that's going to be something interesting we'll see play out within the next 48 hours. But more so talking about this Triple J trade, I give a lot of props to Utah for making a deal like this. They don't want to be stuck in no man's land, and they don't want to be stuck in a position where, they haven't really drafted the best recently. I know Ace Bailey has been progressing, but still looks like, even Memphis, they got a better player from that draft than Cedric Howard. I'll say this, Cody Williams looks like one of the biggest draft failures of all time. He's horrible, absolutely putrid. And then you also have drafted, several picks that just haven't hit. I do like Walter Clayton Jr. Kind of happy to see that he's going to Memphis. I think he is actually going to have some good playing time over there, especially if John Morant does end up getting traded. So I think it's very beneficial for Memphis going completely all around with this rebuild. I think they have 13 first-round picks within the next 7 years. So that is super good for them. And this is the exact way that they should go about this rebuild. Remember, in the summer, they did get those 5 first-round picks, or was it 4? I think it was 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
And now they get 3 first-round picks from Utah. I mean, wink, wink, Utah. I mean, come on. Those could end up in really good position depending how, it ends up. But I do like the move from Utah, making an aggressive push, trying to change the environment of the team, competing. And yes, could they build around and have a big lineup next year? Obviously, Kessler is out for the whole year, but could they have a big lineup with Triple J, Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen, and then possibly put Ace Bailey at shooting guard with Keontae George? I can say this, though, without a doubt, they made this move right here because they saw how much Keontae George improved this year. And with him taking that step up as a point guard, I have no doubt that now having JJ here, it's going to be a phenomenal addition right here. I think Triple J has found a good place right here. Will that mean that the Jazz will be going for it this year? I don't think so. I actually think that, since their pick, they have to let it fall in the top 8, I believe. If not, it doesn't go to them. I think it goes to OKC, funny enough.
Okay.
So they got to maybe come up with the undisclosed injury for this guy because you don't want to lose your pick to OKC out of all teams. Then you're really cooked. So I don't know. That's something to keep an eye on, I will say.
That's true, and OKC has enough picks, so
yeah,
they don't need any more picks. They're already set up themselves rather nicely. So yeah, they don't need any additional help, especially from other teams.
They do not, and especially because we'll get into the James Harden talk in a little bit, but you lose him, and they have right now a top 14 protected or projected pick right now via the Clippers, so that's not good for OKC. Well, that's good for OKC, not good for the league. Let's
Right.
go on to the next trade right here. Overall, I would say I think it's a real quick before we move on. I think it's a win-win. The Grizzlies are doing exactly what they need to do. Utah, a step in the right direction. A little bit confusing. I don't think they're done yet. Possibly not. I think they maybe have an opportunity to make one more move, maybe a slight move. What would they do with Yusuf Nurkic? Could they trade him? He's
That's a
kind of
possibility.
in the middle of nowhere right there. Now that they have Triple J there, so something to keep an eye on. But I think it's a win-win. Would you say the same thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a 50-50 shot that they would, maybe do something like that. But, obviously time will tell to see how the franchise, moves in whatever direction they choose, I guess, towards the end of the season. Usually when the summer hits and teams have a second to, regroup and
Yeah.
figure something out is when they make that type of decision. So I think that'll be a decision they make in the summer.
Yeah, we'll just see how that plays out. But moving on to a trade, I think this is the smallest trade of the day, but it's still a very impactful trade, and we'll get into why more so. Sorry, I'm checking my team, my X right now, just to see if there's any trade alerts, because it'd be pretty cool if something breaks, especially the Harden thing that's brewing. But
Yeah.
talking about this trade right here, Chicago, Minnesota, and the Pistons have agreed to a multi-team deal right here, and this involves Jaden Ivey, Mike Conley going to the Bulls, Kevin Herter and Dario Saric going to the Pistons, and Detroit also. Well, what did Minnesota get from this? Nothing, right? They just moved.
They actually were just involved, and they moved Conley, and they
Detroit also
also
received a 2026 first round protected swap from Minnesota.
right from
Okay.
Minnesota, so they gave up a pick. Yeah,
I mean that's a pick swap, so that's not the end of the end of the world.
right.
But I will say this:
I was a little surprised about Ivy. I don't know. Were you?
I think, unfortunately, because of the injury he had, I believe it was a torn ACL or was it a fibular injury? I don't know. He wasn't really getting the minutes anymore in Detroit. He was kind of out of the rotation. Ron Holland took his minutes. Duncan Robinson took his minutes. Obviously, we see the star that Kate has become. So, yeah, I'm not really that surprised. Were you surprised about Ivy getting moved?
I mean, a little bit. I kind of thought that, just for, I knew he was losing minutes, but I didn't think they were going to give up on him to the point where they were going to get a suitor for him at the deadline. I just thought he was a young enough player that came, that was in their system that I thought maybe they'd make it work and maybe he would just take on a lesser role. But, obviously they were able to get this done and involve him in the trade. So at first I was a little surprised, a little taken back. I really didn't see them making a move so quick. That's why it took me by surprise when it came to Ivy.
I'll say this as well. For Mike Conley, obviously his contract now being moved, I think that is a very smart strategical move by the Timberwolves.
Absolutely.
Now
Absolutely.
it opens up the door for the Giannis trade. Obviously, they're going to need possibly two more teams other than just a 1-for-1 with the Bucks. But now that moves a little bit of more space created, because supposedly there was rumblings per Shams that if they wanted to, they could have got Kobe White in this trade right here, but they opted not to get him. And obviously that would have fulfilled their point guard desire. And instead, they're going to fill up, they're going to create some space right here to land Giannis. And I think out of all the teams right now, Minnesota, Miami, Golden State has kind of fatigued out, I guess, in a way, because there was rumblings that Giannis doesn't see them as a primary option for him, and the Bucks are trying to do him right. So right now it's Minnesota and Miami. I think this is a very strategic move right here by Minnesota to trade Conley's contract, open up some space.
Well, if he wants to win, and I know that's important to him, I think actually Minnesota would be the best bet for him right now. I think with the talent that they have with, obviously Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, I'm not sure if he'd be involved in a trade.
I think he would.
To get Giannis. But even if Randle does get dealt, just Anthony Edwards and Giannis alone is something scary. So, those two teaming up could be a potential nightmare in the West. So it's interesting to see. Even with the Warriors offering 5 first-round picks, that was the rumor that they had offered 5 first-round picks, and they were willing to go the extra mile in order to get Giannis. But Giannis is also thinking about his future. He's 32 years old. He thinks that he could play for another 7-8 years. Exactly. He wants to be in the best situation for those next 7 or 8 years. So right now, if he sees Anthony Edwards as someone that's going to be a cornerstone of Minnesota, it's a better fit for him there. He'll go there. He could play for the next 7 or 8 years, and Anthony Edwards obviously he'll sign a supermax there, and they could be together for the next decade almost. So only time will tell in the next 24 hours. We'll see what happens.
Look, I think
you brought that up. That was a good point.
Yeah, that's going to be super interesting. More talking about this trade. I think Ivy going to Chicago. It's a good young flyer. Obviously, like he kind of got pushed out of the rotation there in Detroit. So now he's going to have an opportunity with most likely Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu possibly getting traded before the deadline. Honestly, that's what I'm looking at my phone right now because I think those are going to be the next two pieces that are going to be moved because the Bulls have been very active these past 24 hours. We're getting to
Absolutely.
the main trade that they made right now. But I expect Ivy to get a significant amount of minutes now with the Bulls. So shout out to him. He's going to get a nice, fresh restart to his career. Kevin Huerter going to the Pistons. That's a good 3-point shooter that they're
Yeah,
looking
absolutely.
at. I like that. And Minnesota just playing 13 fiddle right here. So props to them. I think this is honestly a pretty good yeah, I think it's pretty good. More so for the Bulls. I think the Bulls took a good flyer on a young player that deserves a second shot. I mean, keep in mind, Ivy was a top 5 pick in the draft, so
Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
believe he still has
That's another
star
point.
potential. And not star potential, but at least a guy that could average maybe 18, 17 points.
Yeah.
And we'll see how he bounces back now with the minutes that he's going to get. Him and Matas over there, young core, Giddy as well. That's going to be pretty cool to see. But talking about the Bulls, moving on to the final trade that we've had so far today. I mean, who knows? Maybe we could have a breaking one as we're recording. Trust, I'm checking my phone. But the Chicago Bulls are trading center Nikola Vucevic and a second-round pick to the Boston Celtics, which, by the way, real quick, this pick right here will land either 31st or 35th, anywhere between that regards, just to let you guys know. And Boston Celtics will send to the Chicago Bulls guard Anthony Simons, who I did have getting traded, by the way, in
Me
one of our
too.
6 trade
Yeah.
deadline predictions. I had him getting traded. And no, I think it was you actually. It wasn't
It was me. It was me. Yeah.
I think I mentioned it yesterday in the past video that we did. I think
Yeah.
that said they might be moving on from his contract. I think that's what I said. And they did. They did. Also a second round pick going back, but literally a 1-for-1 guard for center swap. What do you feel about this, obviously?
So if you know, for everybody listening, if you and watching, if you watched the last video that we did on the trade prediction, I actually had the Celtics either trading for a wing or a big man that could shoot the basketball, and voila, Vucevic is a guy that's a big man. He's 6'9", and he can shoot the basketball. He shoots 50% from the floor. He could shoot the three once in a while if he has to, and he's averaging 17 and 9. He's been a really solid player. I know he's getting up there, and hasn't been the absolute best that he could be, but he's been really solid, man. I can't really hate on Vucevic, and he also averages 4 assists, so he has a pretty decent eye for facilitating the basketball too. Down low in the paint, he could get it out to some shooters that are open and make that work. So that's a good sign as well. But listen, I think he's a really solid player. I think Boston's going to get really solid minutes out of him. This guy's a stud to me. Like I said, he shoots the basketball very well. And Anthony Simmons is a great move for Chicago. He's a young player that is just going to be able to grow with this franchise. Hopefully he sticks around and he could give Boston 35, 40 minutes a night, and he could score 20 points too when he wants to. So I think it's a good move for both sides.
Yeah, for Anthony Simmons, I'll talk about the Vucevic thing second, but Anthony Simmons going to Chicago, I actually think there's a chance he might get rerouted in another trade just because they have so many guards there already. I don't know if necessarily, obviously they picked up Ivy. They still have
Well,
Giddy,
maybe they're going to trade everybody else and keep
Trey
him
Jones.
because they kept him. If they traded for him, maybe they have plans for him. And maybe they'll trade everybody else.
Or maybe they just wanted to get rid of Vooch. And I mean, look, I think Anthony Simons, no matter what, he's about to be a free agent, and I don't think the Bulls are going to pay him at all because one, they just paid Giddy for 100. So, and if they're going to keep Ivy as well, he's a restricted free agent. I think a guy like that makes more sense to keep. Anthony Simons, I do believe has a chance to get rerouted, but if he does stay with the Bulls, it's going to be like, all right, just see what you could give us for this year, maybe play in, maybe whatever. The Bulls right now, I think they're projected to have the 14th pick in the draft. So just in the lottery, sounds about right for them. But look, Vucevic to the Celtics, it's pretty good because it, fits into their identity what Joe Mazzulla has over there. Everybody out at the 3-point line. I think Vucevic, he shoots 40% from 3, I believe. He's actually a really good 3-point shooter. The only thing that, obviously, when you talk about Vucevic's game and where I call him, sometimes a jobber, bro, he can't defend like a pole.
He's lost a lot of athleticism, and it's going to hurt his defense.
You see, a defender drive right through him, and then he has his hands up, like, "Oh, what happened? Who let that happen?" Look, a pick and roll matchup, if they face like the Pistons, like Duran and Cade Cunningham, bro, they're gonna exploit this kid so bad in the playoffs. It's not even gonna be funny. But I know why the Celtics did this trade. They needed an upgrade at center. Neemias Keita, he did good more so rim protecting, but couldn't bring no offense, can't shoot the ball. So I do like this move more so if we're talking about an offensive point of view for the Celtics. Defensively, I think it's, I mean, not the best, but I mean, you know what you're getting out of Vucevic at this point of his career, and they're settled for that, so that's cool. Anthony Simons, like I said, maybe he will stick with the Bulls, but also makes sense. The Bulls have a crap ton of guards right now. I mean, not including like, I mean, if you technically do want to include Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu because they're still on the roster, they have Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Anthony Simons, Jaden Ivey, Josh Giddey, Trey Jones.
So
Uh,
three of those guys are definitely getting traded out of that list.
yeah. I think Carter got
Probably
DFA'd.
White.
I think he got cut. Yeah, they have a lot of guards there, bro, and that's actually a little bit insane. But we'll see how that plays out. Look, regardless, I would have to say it's would you say a win-win for both teams? I guess.
I listen. I like it more for the Celtics. Obviously, I listen. It addressed a need. They needed a big man that could shoot, or they needed a winger. Obviously, they didn't get the winger, so they went and got the big man. So, like I said, we had both mentioned it in our last video, so we kind of saw that they had a need for a big man. So they get a 6'9" power forward that can shoot the basketball. So I think it's a win for the Celtics. For the Bulls, I mean, are they trading for him because they see a little bit of a future with him and a cheaper option? I don't know. I'm not too sure. I thought maybe because they traded for him that they saw him being a fit with their organization. But like you said, maybe they trade him down the line. It's definitely a possibility. I was thinking maybe along the lines of they saw something that they could work with and they could keep him in the organization. But who knows if they do get rid of him?
Yeah, because it just doesn't make sense. They're not going to pay him the money he wants in free agency. I don't think that's going to be ideal for the Bulls. I mean, who knows? Jerry Reinsdorf does make questionable moves when it comes to spending money for the Bulls, but it's something that I'll keep my eyes on, especially with about 48 hours left to the deadline, seeing if this guy gets rerouted, and if so, could that be to a possible contender? We'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. Going back and just talking about, obviously, the rumors that have been coming out today. I don't have any pulled up necessarily, but we've seen the James Harden rumor, and I think that's the big rumor that came out today. James Harden wanting out from the Clippers. Why is that? You could get into all the conspiracies you want in the world, why that could possibly be the case. Does he want to win somewhere else? Is it because of the contract? Is it because of the money? Scandals? Are we going to talk about that maybe in another video? But yeah, James Harden wants out, and I think they're going to be in a situation where the Cavaliers are in a one-for-one swap. Maybe they have to attach some picks for a guy like Harden, or maybe the other way around. I don't know, but we've heard the Garland for Harden swap. I mean, JB, what do you think about that if that were to happen?
I mean, that would be a wild trade. It really would be. And let me tell you something. That would be a nice little duo with Harden and
Yep.
Donovan Mitchell, as their guards. That would be absolutely insanity. But here's the thing. I actually don't know if this was Harden this time. I kind of think this was the Clippers coming together first and saying, hey, I think we have to face a decision here and maybe move on from one of these big contracts that we got. And obviously it's going to be Harden that they would go after. And I really think that they actually, we had been talking about this, off the air about an hour before we started recording. And I had said that, the Clippers had sat down with him and they were speaking. So I think this was a meeting that they actually called for. I think this is something that they wanted to, obviously let him know what their goal
Right.
was. And obviously they wanted his advice as well, which I gave. I would hope that they gave him, the respect mutually, just to make things work. And I guess they were both on the same page. So him going to Cleveland looks pretty imminent right now. I think it's maybe just dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Yeah.
And then he'll be in Cleveland. I don't think there's any other team right
Well,
now
there's one team.
that's in play. I'm
There's
sorry.
one team. Uh,
Who?
if the Timberwolves don't somehow get
Oh
Giannis,
wow.
they do have a pivot plan B. And if that trade doesn't end, nope, nothing. if that trade doesn't come to fruition, the Giannis to the Timberwolves, they have been linked to James Harden as their starting point guard, which
So
I
that would
think
be
would be a
interesting.
great one. I think that would be exactly what they've needed for a long time, keeping him there. And then you keep Julius Randle, you keep Jaden McDaniels, you have Rudy Gobert. There you go. That's your championship contender right there in Minnesota. So we'll see how that
That
plays
would be
out.
pretty insane. Yeah, that would be pretty wild. Him and Anthony Edwards would be that would be a nice tandem there. And
We'll
I
see.
wonder what they'd have to give up. Does Julius Randle get traded?
I think in a situation like that,
I
it
think you
could
can
be.
actually I think you actually wind up keeping him for some reason. I feel like they could maybe throw Rudy is it Rudy Gobert and maybe like 4 picks or 3 picks or
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know how that will look like. That'd be very interesting to see maybe a three-team deal right there ends up
yeah.
being played out. But I mean, obviously, real quick
But
to
that'd be
kind of
wild.
wrap it.
Him on Minnesota would be sick. But
Yeah, that would be nasty. Especially they need a guy to facilitate a little bit better. I know Anthony Edwards has done a little bit progressing when it comes to playmaking, but still not top tier at his game. But if you have a guy like that, James Harden, that brings the ball up the court, is able to facilitate, create more opportunities for guys like DiVincenzo, for guys like Julius Randle, if he does stay, Jaden McDaniels even, I think that'd be a beautiful matchup right there in Minnesota. I will say this, though, when it comes to the Giannis rumors and everything that has to do with that, it's seeming like little by little, the reports that, this is about to happen, very imminent this. I don't think the Bucks are gonna fall into this at the current moment. I really think they're just being really smart about it, seeing where the offers are at. But I think I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna actually bite. And, get the bait going. I don't really see it at this point.
I think there's going to be teams that do push it to the limit. I think at maybe the last hour you'll see like the craziest offers start getting put out there. The final strongest pushes from the teams that really want him, and I think at that point maybe the Bucks get overwhelmed and say, "Wow, we finally got the best possible offer that we could have ever gotten, whether it's in the offseason or it's at the trade deadline." So I do think that the best offer hasn't been offered yet. Like I said, I thought the Warriors offer was rather impressive with the 5 picks and potentially maybe getting Kaminga and
I
maybe
mean, you
some other
thought
pieces.
Jaren Jackson just got 3 first-round picks, and
Yeah,
I mean,
so
come on, like, look, I won't crap on Jaren Jackson because he's a borderline all-star. But when it comes to a player like Giannis, they're doing their due diligence, and
oh, absolutely.
no matter what, the fact that the report that came out today talking about the Bucks and their counter offers and some of the offers they saw coming, they're just more so laughing at it. I think this is going to be a little bit of a long game right here.
Yeah, like I said, I think the only respectable offer was Golden State's, and obviously they're not going to jump on that one. It was one of the first initial offers that they received. But like I said, I don't think the best offer has even been offered yet. So yeah, maybe they were laughing at a lot of teams for the packages that were being sent over to them for a guy like Giannis. That's obviously laughable when you're not giving up enough. So or thinking that you could get away with giving up what you're trying to give up. So that's why you're probably getting laughed at. But like I said, I think with up to the final hour, we may see the best packages start rolling Milwaukee's way.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, that'd be pretty cool just to end the saga once and for all. Nope, nothing. But I don't know. I think it's a little bit too complicated. You don't want to rush a situation like this, especially when it's your franchise star. If they want to do right by him, so be it. But I don't say play Mr. Nice Guy. You got to think about your organization and how it would be impacted from here on out.
Right.
Till that point, though, I think summertime. That's where this is going to go to. But I could be wrong. We'll just see. It's about to be Wednesday when you guys are seeing this video. It is Wednesday. So will Giannis be traded by that point? I don't think so. But who knows? We'll do like maybe a breaking video if it does happen. Obviously, it'll be monumental. But other than that, I think we are going to get some more trades other than Giannis going down.
Well, according to Dave McMenamin, LeBron James expects to be a Laker through the rest of the season.
Well, yeah,
So
I agree.
I guess for anyone who thought maybe he was going to get traded, he's just shot down some potential big time news.
Well,
So
for anybody that thought that, I will say this.
I didn't think he was getting traded.
Yesterday.
I personally didn't think that was going to happen at all. LeBron being traded wasn't even a thing on my mind. So for
We
people who
said
thought he was getting traded, I think that was just a really, really hot take.
we said it yesterday on the show. We'll say it again. That is an offseason matter. He's about to be a free agent. I think he could do whatever he wants with this free agency. One more year left of LeBron. I think that's most likely what we're going to get going into his 24th season next year. We'll just see how that plays out. I mean, the Lakers have looked, pretty decent, but like I said, we'll just see how it plays out. I don't know if they're going to make any significant moves. I hope they do. If anything, that'd be really good for Luka and the roster, but I don't know. We'll just see how it plays out.
Yeah, I personally think he's he's going to look to move on. And I think, like you said yesterday, you had made a good point. I think he ends in Cleveland. I think it's where he wants to end his career. It makes sense. So I could potentially see him going to Cleveland. And if they got Harden somehow, that'd be a nice little tandem.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Donovan Mitchell, LeBron, and James Harden. That'd be a nice little trio.
Yeah, it really would. But we'll just see how it plays out. Will Ja get traded? Will Zion get traded? We'll just have to see as the next 24 to 48 hours of not free agency trade deadline. This saga comes to an end. Will Giannis get moved? We'll see. Till this point, make sure you guys subscribe to JBM Sports Media for daily sports content. Follow us on TikTok and IG at JBM Sports Media. Until then, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.